Have you ever felt like the whole financial world is just some big, complicated game where you don't know the rules? Well, we're going to change that right now. We're about to pull back the curtain on the entire system that quietly shapes pretty much everything in our lives. It's time to learn the rules of the game so you can finally start winning it.
You know this feeling all too well. You get that notification. Payday. Let's say $2,000 hits your account, but then you look closer and... wait a minute. Something's missing. Actually, a lot is missing. You've just performed the modern ritual of sacrifice to, well, to these invisible forces.
So that's what we're here to figure out. Where does all that money actually go? And more importantly, what are the rules of this game? Because it is a game, one we're all playing whether we like it or not. So let's figure out how to play it to our advantage.
All right, first up, we got to look at the system's plumbing. Think of it like the pipes inside the walls of your house. You don't really see them, you don't think about them, but they are absolutely essential for anything to work. These are the non-negotiable parts of the financial world we all have to deal with.
I will never forget my first real paycheck. I saw that gross pay, $2,000, and thought, I'm rich. Then reality hit. Before you even get a chance to touch that money, Uncle Sam shows up for federal and state taxes. This is basically the cost of living in a society. It pays for roads, schools, all that stuff. Then you've got Social Security and Medicare, which are kind of like a forced savings and health insurance plan for your future self. What's finally left over is your net pay. Yeah, a real eye-opener, right?
So that net pay finally hits your bank account, and you probably imagine it sitting there in a little vault with your name on it. Not even close. A bank is way more like a matchmaker. The second your money lands, they keep a tiny little piece of it, and then they lend the rest out to someone else. Maybe your neighbor who needs a car loan, or that entrepreneur who wants to open a coffee shop down the street. It's a system called fractional reserve banking, and it's literally how money keeps moving through the whole economy.
And here's the really wild part when you stop and think about it. That money, it's not really real. I mean, a dollar bill is just a piece of paper with some fancy printing on it. The only reason it has any value at all is because of a collective story we all agree to believe in. The entire system is built on nothing more than shared belief, on trust. Kind of crazy.
Okay, now we get to the fun part. Let's talk about the parts of the game where you actually get to make some strategic moves. Think of these as two-sided coins. Financial concepts that can either build you an amazing future, or they can completely crush you. It all just depends on which side of the coin you're on.
And the most powerful two-sided coin of them all is interest. On one side, it is your absolute worst enemy. It's the force that can turn a tiny little spark of debt, like, that burrito you swiped a credit card for, into a raging financial inferno. But on the other side, it is your best employee. It works for you 24/7, no breaks, tirelessly turning your small, patient savings into a huge mountain of wealth over time. They call it compounding, and it's the closest thing we have to a real-life cheat code.
This brings us to your financial report card, your credit score. Now, for the longest time, I thought this number was all about how rich you were. It's not. It has absolutely nothing to do with how much money you make. It is purely a measure of one thing: trust. It's just a 3-digit number that tells lenders, hey, is this person reliable? Do they pay back what they borrow?
So the key is just knowing what they're looking at. These are basically the rules of the game. Payment history is king. Seriously, just set up automatic payments and forget about it. Total game changer. Credit utilization? Just try to keep your balances low. The rule of thumb is under 30% of your total limit. It shows you're not overstretched. The rest, how long you've had credit, the mix of accounts, and new applications, they all play a part too. Master these 5 things, and you can totally rig the game back in your favor.
All right, let's zoom out a bit. Because beyond the things you can directly control, there are these big, sweeping forces of the economy. I like to think of it like the weather. You can't control whether or not it's going to rain, right? But you can check the forecaster and remember to bring an umbrella. These are the forces you just have to anticipate.
And the most constant weather pattern out there is inflation. Remember when a movie ticket was like $5, or when you could get a candy bar for a quarter? That's inflation right there. Your dollar is still a dollar, but over time, its power to actually buy stuff just gets weaker. It's the silent thief that makes everything slowly but surely more expensive.
And that leads to the bigger storms, like recessions. The economy tends to move in these big cycles, kind of like a huge party. First, you have the boom years, when the party's in full swing and everyone's having a great time. Then you hit the peak, where maybe the lights start to flicker a little bit. And then comes the bust. Yep, now the DJ is playing sad lo-fi beats and people are talking about downsizing. It's painful, for sure, but it's so important to remember that it is a cycle. It's a reset, and the rebuilding phase always begins again.
So knowing about the plumbing and the two-sided coins and the economic weather, what's the end game here? How do you actually prepare for all this? Well, now we get to the most important part. Let's talk about your ultimate resources, the assets that you control.
This is where investing comes into play. It's your umbrella in that inflationary storm. See, for most of our lives, we trade our time for money. Investing is how you finally flip that script. It's how you start trading your money for more money. You're putting your dollars to work so they can go out and build an army of more dollars, all while you're sleeping.
And look, it is not as complicated as it's made out to be. The main ways to do it are pretty straightforward. Stocks, you're just buying a tiny slice of ownership in a company like Apple or Amazon. If they do well, you do well. Bonds, that's you loaning money to the government or a huge corporation, and they promise to pay you back with interest. Funds are just convenient pre-made baskets of lots of different stocks and bonds. And real estate is simple. You buy a property, and hopefully someone pays you rent to live in it.
But underneath all of this, your job, your investments, everything, is this really simple engine of value. Wealth flows toward value. A great surgeon provides immense value. The person who invents the new life-saving technology provides value. The more value you can create for other people, whether that's through a special skill, a great product, or a service people need, the more you can earn. So the question is, what value can you bring to the world?
And the last, most precious resource you have, the one you can't buy more of, is time. Real, lasting wealth is not a lottery ticket. It is not built in days. It is not built in weeks. It is built patiently and consistently over decades. Time is the secret ingredient that lets that magic of compounding really do its work.
So we'll end with this. We've seen that interest is this massive, unstoppable force in all of our financial lives. It can either be your worst enemy, burying you deeper and deeper in debt, or it can be your best unpaid employee, working 24/7 to build your future. And the only question left is, are you the one paying it, or are you the one collecting it?